Hey guys, this is Matt Core from Ctrl+Paint.com. And as we continue to refine and tailor our custom digital workspace, it's important to talk about things outside of Photoshop. So in this video, we're going to look at plugins that are specifically for Photoshop, as well as third-party applications that really expand Photoshop's power. So one really cool tool here is called AD Brutus Symmetry. And this is very similar to that action we made in a previous video. The idea is you want to do something symmetrical, but Photoshop doesn't support it. Well, this little graphical user interface has all the tools you would need for symmetry-related stuff. So for instance, I can mirror top to bottom. That's kind of a cool feature. I can also mirror bottom to top. It can even do kind of a neat feature here if I wanted something that had rotational symmetry. I can tell how many of these different pie slices I want, and it thinks a while. And then once it's done thinking, it's made my kaleidograph. What I really like about this tool is that it does a bunch of things related to symmetry and nothing else. All right, the next panel I want to show you is called Renamey. The idea is we've got a lot of layers, they're not very well named, and we want to sort of speed up the task of cleaning house. So what's really nice here is that you can work on multiple layers at once. So I can take these 4 layers, and then within Renamey I can say, I just want to change them to, we'll say, test. So I hit enter, and now all of them have the same name. Well, maybe that's not all that useful. So instead, maybe I'll say I want to call them testing, but then I also want them numbered. So what I can do is add %NN, hit enter, and now they're called testing 01 through testing 04. That's a lot more useful. So clearly, Renamey offers a lot of power. And I'm not going to go into all the different things it can do, but if you ever need to rename a bunch of layers, this makes it a lot easier. Sometimes the best way to expand Photoshop's functionality is to actually look outside of Photoshop. So when you look at my cursor and you see these little blue trails appear, those are actually gestures that are controlling keyboard shortcuts. And I use a piece of software called Strokes Plus, which is Windows only, but it allows me to map key bindings to gestures. And to me, this is very useful. In fact, over the last year or so, I've really relied on this very heavily. So even though this is not explicitly Photoshop, for me, it's really improved the way that I can work in Photoshop just with a little flick of the wrist. Another fantastic tool you've probably seen me use before is called Lazy Nezumi Pro. And what this does is it literally modifies the line you draw. And what it's used for generally is to smooth out lines. So for instance, this is kind of tricky. If I were to trace along this, I might have a hard time. Well, if I turn on Smoothing Massive, which is one of the built-in presets, now it has this kind of pulled string averaging that's happening. This is very neat, and it takes a little getting used to, because what it does is it feels like lag, and it's kind of catching up to your cursor and averaging it out. And there's other software that has this built in, but what's really nice about Lazy Nezumi is that this is not Photoshop specific. It works really well with Photoshop, but it actually is just Windows software. If I wanted to smooth out my normal cursor, I probably could. So this has been around for a few years, and I think it's really powerful for this alone, but it's recently updated with just a total game changer. So I'm going to turn that off for a second and switch to a connected line preset. The idea with this is that a ruler kind of follows me around the screen, and it takes whatever brush I'm using and it allows me to snap my line along it. But this still means I can use pressure. So I can have a firm end here and a light end there. And it's just so clever. I mean, it's the ruler I've always wanted. It follows me around wherever I'm going. It's easy to use, easy to set up. And this really solves a problem that Photoshop has had for years. It's this click, shift, click, straight line drawing just isn't that great. I think we've all kind of had frustrations with it. It just solves it. It's $35. If all you ever used was this one feature, I think you'd come out ahead. Now, there's a lot I want to talk about with the update for Lazy Nezumi Pro, and there's just no time for it in this video. But I hope this shows that sometimes it's worth looking for third-party tools to really expand Photoshop's functionality. Now, before I finish this video, I think it's important to mention the big disclaimer. And that's that this stuff doesn't always work smoothly. Specifically, I think the Brutus Symmetry tool kind of broke Photoshop. There was a day where I was using it and I just couldn't figure out what the instability was. And I think it just doesn't play nice with CC version 2015. And my point is not to shame the AD Brutus Symmetry tool. It probably works fine in other versions, but it stands to illustrate that this is not an easy process. Some versions of the software aren't going to play well with some versions of these third-party plugins. They can be hard to install. The documentation isn't always there. It's a complicated ecosystem. In between CC Edition 2014 and 2015, Adobe radically changed the way that plugins are even managed. We used to use something called the Adobe Plugin Manager, and now that's been phased out. So I'd say don't expect any of this to work smoothly and automatically, but it's really cheap and it's really powerful, so I'd say it's worth the risk. So I'd open this one up to the community. I'd love to hear what extensions and plugins you guys are using, because it's something I don't talk about much. So let's share this as a group and figure out what are the best ones to use. All right, have fun painting, and thanks for coming to the site, guys.